You're good to go now.
Thank you so much. It is now 5:36, and I call this budget workshop meeting to get open. The Floresville City Council today, Tuesday, August 3rd. And I call this meeting to order. If you would please rise for our invocation, followed by our Pledge of Allegiance and Texas Pledge. Dear Father, we come to you this evening asking for your direction and your guidance through tonight's budget process. Thank you for the blessings of the rains that you have sent, and we pray for the safety of our community during this COVID rise in cases. May your will, may your guidance, and may your blessings be upon the city of Floresville and Texas. It's in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
We do have a quorum for tonight's meeting. In attendance, we have Councilwoman Jimenez, and Councilwoman Martinez. Thank you, ladies, for being with us. And I believe Councilman Villarreal will be joining us shortly. Thank you so much. I will open the floor to any citizens' comments at this moment. Okay, if not, we're going to just dive right into our workshop. Calling Mr. David Martinez and Johnny Villarreal concerning the parks and the cemetery. I think Johnny's here.
Good afternoon, Councilman Mayor. How are you doing today?
Thank you. We're good. Thanks.
So we just go straight through the line items here. It's increases for us are going to be the supplies and materials. We can start off with the safety supplies. We did put $1,000 in there for safety tool supplies, anything that we need, whether it's gloves or vests, what have you, just miscellaneous items that they would need for food furniture for through the year. And travel and training, we also did put some money in there, being that we did acquire the new vehicles for CBLs, just to allow for proper travel training, whatever they need for when it comes to schooling for that. We want to afford them that opportunity to get their CBLs if they're interested in it and want to have that money available for that purpose there. So that was the increase on that, on the supplies and materials. There was an increase on capital outlay. Capital outlay, we're looking at getting a new mower next year, a shredder, and a bucket truck under the Volkswagen buyback program. By the admissions, it's through the admissions program that we did the 2 CDL vehicles this year with. Those are the only increases that we got so far for this, or that we're going to have this year.
Do we still have the bucket truck that we bought from Phelps?
We currently do, yes, ma'am.
Is it in use?
No, ma'am.
It is inoperable, Mayor, but this is one of the line items that we have. We have 2 options, and our finance director is researching if which one's going to be better. If we do purchase the one from the Volkswagen program to see what that is, or repair the one that we got from Phelps. She discussed with me today that that is her hope, to see which one's going to be better, and we will make sure that we inform the council of what direction we go after. That decision is made. The other thing that Johnny talked about was a shredder for our tractor. As you know, we cut the mediums on TxDOT highway because anything within the city limits is our responsibility. We have 2 small shredders. I think 8 foot is what they are. And what the operator of the tractor says, if I had a bat wing shredder, then I could finish quicker and get to other areas that need addressing. He did run across the contractors that do outside of the city limits, and that's what they utilize, and it takes them a lot shorter time, so we're hoping that that will take care of that. And of course, the mowers, we go through mowers regularly because of the amount of work that these guys do, and being a rainy year, as you know, we're trying to keep up. so that would help.
I was discussing this with Cindy earlier. It's very hard to find lawnmowers right now, so if approved, we would need to order it as quickly as possible, and they're hard to find right now.
Yes, sir.
Council, any questions for Mr. Villarreal? If no questions, we can go ahead and move on to your next presentation.
This is for the cemetery. For cemetery funds, our budget is based off of the sale of cemetery lots. But then I also included on that first line a transfer in for the fund balance of $12,500. Currently, before this transfer of $12,500, there is a reserve for the cemetery fund of $47,338. Taking that 12,500, of course, would bring it down to 35, roughly 35,000 left in there. Doing that, we're budgeting $27,500. And then the next page, which is the expenses. Nothing there is really changing, going up, except for capital outlay. I know there's been discussions on different items. We do need water on the new side. We do need some type of roadway for the new side, and also repair some of the current roadways, curbing, painting, contracting out actual service of the mowing there, because it is time consuming. So it's a discussion with you all on what we want to prioritize and what we're wanting to accomplish this next year. Johnny did get a quote for the curbs. It would be just under $7,600.
I know that we've been talking, myself with Mr. Jocelyn and Johnny, about the repairs. Because our budget is limited, when we talk about curbing, it would be the curbing around the immediate left section, because that's where people are driving over gravesites, and I believe it's one other corner as when you go in, then you go to the left. So it wouldn't be curbing all the way throughout the cemetery. There's no way that we could afford that. But it would alleviate those accidents that are, when I say accidents, driving over gravesites. And then we also discussed filling in the potholes, but also cleaning up the cemetery. And the new section, a lot of people are driving and parking on it over some of the plots, so those are things that we've been looking into. Also, cleanups. If the council would allow me, I would like to organize some cleanups for the cemetery, like a lot of local organizations would like community time, community service, and I think this would be a great opportunity to show the community that we haven't neglected it, and we want to make things right and make things better at the cemetery. So, Mr. Jocelyn or Johnny, if y'all have anything else to put in there, I just wanted to kind of clarify that we are working. We know, I think all of us have gotten complaints about the cemetery and the way that it is at this moment, and I'm not blaming any of the staff, because it's hard to keep up with everything we have to, so.
One of the things, Mayor, if I may add, is you are correct. These guys have done an awesome job trying to keep up with them all. If you take into consideration what it takes you personally to keep your lawn in order, it's constant. So we have quite a big area to cover. These guys are trying to do what they're doing. One of the things that we did discuss, like our finance director said, is she budgeted $15,000, which leaves $35,000 in the reserve. It is up to the council if they want to allocate more funds towards projects that we need to accomplish this year. That reserve money is there for emergencies or issues like here that need to be addressed. You are correct. We value the cemetery tremendously, because our loved ones are buried there, and we want to make sure that we stay up with everything that's going on. The roads need work. We talked about the fencing and the entrance that needs to be repainted. That's minimal expense on that one, but we'll need to see if that's something that the council would like to see. And then the curbing to ensure that they are not, people aren't parking there. Is that they don't know it's not a no parking zone. You know, I know that you spend funds in mapping out the next section and where the amount of plots we have. So our job is gonna be to create the new road in there to make sure that we get more of a visual when people are picking a lot for their loved one. So like our finance director said, she budgeted 15,000, being conservative. If you would like to see more projects in there, just let us know what is priority to you, and then we can allocate more funds from that reserve money. It really hasn't been spent because there hadn't been too much traction, and we're eager to make the changes that will be positive for our cemetery.
I know there had been a question about the rules that were set up in the beginning as you drive in. You know, we posted that a couple of years ago, hadn't really enforced it, so that's another thing that the council will need to look into if we want to continue with that posting or with those rules, or take it down or enforce them. So that's it. Yes, ma'am.
My concern about the cemetery is how much would it cost, and I don't know, Johnny, to maybe not pay, but fix that road, fix the, you know, the roads there. Because I was there Saturday at my aunt's funeral, and there were so many potholes, and I'm not blaming y'all at all, because I know y'all have your hands full. But if, you know, people were trying to walk on the pavement there, and it's so much, you know, I was scared that they might fall or trip over the, whatever. So my thing is, how much would it cost to go ahead and pave, you know, as you enter to your left? And my parents are buried there, so I go there quite often. And, you know, it's hard because there's so much, and to me, it's like, we need to fix that. Also, you know, and I know that a month or two ago, I don't know, and I really appreciate the way y'all keep up with it too, because most of the time it's mowed and it looks good. But at the same time, we have to do something about the road.
Okay.
Also, we need to find out how much it would cost to continue the fence. I was a big, I really bugged the council to get that fence going, and so that was one of my projects, and I'm very proud of it, the fence. But we also need to continue it, you know, to.
You're talking about that wrought iron fence?
Yeah, to
Okay.
take that, right. And like I said, I don't know if Cindy feels like we could afford something like that. I don't know what, you know, how we would use that, but that would be something really, really great to look at, especially the road. Because there's so many potholes, and I know that y'all have done them before, but because of the rain and everything that goes on, you know, they go bad again, you know, which is, y'all are trying. But at the same time, I would love to see that. That's one of my projects that I would like to have done, the road and then continue the fence.
As far as the road, there's probably two options we can do. One being way more cost effective than the other. We can use the millings, make sure we get a little bit more finer millings, something a little cleaner. Actually throw down the oil ourselves and roll that in with our steamroller. And basically we do some prep work. We can start it section by section, so that way we can start with the first section going in and slowly work our way around. So you can start with either our millings, which would be more cost effective for the city, or you can go with a blacktop coal mix, and same scenario, just start in one section and work it from one point to the other. The fence, I'll get with Cindy and see if we can, you know, between her and me and I, we can figure out if the funds are there, and if they are there, if we can do a big section at, you know, at one time, or just break it down into smaller increments and eventually get to our end goal, which would probably be the back end of the new sign.
Yeah.
But let me do some legwork and figure out what the millings are costing right now, what it costs to do millings and blacktop, so that way I can give you two options and say these are the options. And I can actually pick out some roads that have millings, so that way you can actually see what a milling road looks like opposed to a blacktop road with new base on it and new asphalt.
Because that's the busiest part, as you go into your left, that section right there is the busiest, that people, travel all the time. But go ahead and get with Abby and see if we can do it, but that's one of my
Yes,
things
most
that I
definitely,
really,
most
really would
definitely.
like to have done.
Most definitely.
Also, in the meantime, because budget will go into effect October 1st, do we have any base material that can fix the potholes, the worst potholes in the cemetery right now? Do we
Yes,
have
ma'am,
something
we have
that?
some material we can actually throw in there. Yes, ma'am, so we'll address that.
Okay, because I know that there's another funeral coming up very soon, and that is, if you could do that.
We'll do.
And, but I hope, Councilwoman, that you and I can keep an eye on this and maybe
Yeah.
give some input or suggestions. And by all means, council members, if you have any other ideas. And of course, what I asked earlier too is if we need to enforce the rules strictly or take the sign down. So that would be another.
I don't recall the rules.
Basically, the rules, the main rule is that the cemetery would be cleaned up on a regular basis, so anything you have on your gravesite would be picked up. Basically, the rules of the Catholic Church. Yeah.
Because it's hard for our staff to mow and everything, and there's a lot of things on, the whole grave.
Well, I think we get more complaints if there's something on there for a duration of time that might have some sentimental value towards the family. They might place a specific flower on the grave or a, whatever reminds them of the family per se. And I know like at the Catholic cemetery, they don't really allow like big benches or bulky items at the grave sites. And I want to say that that's what we kind of mirrored their rules and regulations on our site. But like Madam Mayor said, we just never really kind of were stiffers towards it. So if we are going to start going and enforcing the rules, it would just be up to the council to make that decision, and kind of we would run with it and start monitoring it. And if we see it 30 days after the fact, like if we go out there and we notice there's plants there, flowers, we'll go out there 2 or 3 weeks later, and if they're still out there, at that point, we'll just take the time to remove it. I don't know if we do have it anymore, but at one point we did have like a small dumpster out there, out towards the back garage, and we wouldn't throw anything in there. It was just arrangements at one point that were older, like that were dilapidated at the point. Yeah, but they were to the point where the sun had eaten them and they were disintegrating by themselves. So it was back when William Wahada was supervisor, so it was years ago. He would take those and dispose of them there. And likewise, that gave the family members the options to dispose of what they wanted to at that point in that location. And to be honest, we never really had very many violations of people going in there to throw their trash. They respected that point, especially that trash can, to not go and throw trash cans. They were just throwing flowers and arrangements and those A-frame stand-ups that they put setups on. That's really the main thing that had gotten thrown there. That had stopped many years ago. But that was their own one, so it's an option.
Well, and I know at the Catholic cemetery, if your flowers are faded, like within 2 weeks, they're gone. They don't even ask permission.
Well, and I just a suggestion, the council might want to think about this. If we show as a city that we're taking better care of it and doing some cleanups, I think a little bit later on to enforce the rules would come easier to the citizens, because we would be showing them that we're making the effort to beautify our cemetery and show our respect. So that's the option the council can talk about.
Definitely.
We need to take pride.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
like I said, you all trying real hard, but it's a big job out there too, so. Anyway, I appreciate Andy and y'all got together and see what we can do.
The only question we have for the council at this time is to consider if you want to leave the capital outlay at 15,000, or you would want to increase add in the other 35,000 or 30,000 or 20,000 more to be able to accomplish what we've got. So,
Could we wait maybe to see?
Mayor, if I may,
Yes, ma'am.
to address that question, I'm good with leaving capital outlay at 15, and if Johnny comes back with some different prices and comparisons for making repairs, then we can do an amendment. That's my opinion on that. I do have a question about options for water use. I do know that people will go in and turn the sprinklers on and leave them on all day or all evening, or a couple days if they forget they turned it on. And so that's using water from the city that nobody pays for. So what is that doing for us?
It's actually, we meter our actual allocated accounts for the city. We basically throw that into a water use report, and we summarize that up through our billing, whether it would be commercial, residential, industrial, etc. And we send that into the state. As long as we stay within a 10 to 20% margin, we're typically good. So we'll throw that into the water use survey, and then we also do a water loss audit, which the water loss audit is a little bit more in depth. They break that down, and they'll tell us whether we are pumping, not that we're pumping too much per se, but whether we're losing way too much water, and by whether that's leaks, people stealing water, trying to hook up to fire hydrants, whether we're selling the right amount. They're basically just making sure that what we're pushing out of the ground is being accounted for. So far we've kind of been within the proper amount. So even when they do leave a faucet open, or they do irrigate overnight or 2 or 3 days, we do find it completely saturated at some points, and then sometimes there are making the headstones from the surrounding kind of burial sites lean because it stays so saturated. We do monitor that, so we catch it, but as far as like a whole, it really doesn't, not gonna say affect, because it does affect us, but the city we're pretty good at monitoring how much water we use and lose. So we're doing good on that. We wouldn't be receiving any fines per se, but it'd be something that we can try to fix, definitely. So that way in the future, we're not just losing water. Maybe have somebody every day make the rounds, whether it's at 7 and then at 3, and making sure the water is off for the day. And like I said, after 3 o'clock, if they come in the evenings and it's on overnight, we'll definitely be able to tell, because it'll be a big saturation puddle. We'll just turn it off for the day. There are elderly people that go out there and they just forget. It's not, it's not their fault. They might just step in their vehicle and forget they were watering and drive off. But we'll definitely try to work on that. We'll try to get somebody out there in the morning, check the sites, make sure there's no water running and astronomical amounts, and then likewise for the afternoon, when they're getting ready to shut down for the day. So it's not going to really interfere with production per se.
Did we have any water, thank you, Councilwoman. Did we have any water?
I did have one more thing.
Okay, I'll let you finish, and then I have a question from Mr. Villarreal.
Yes, thank you. And Mayor, my comment was just going to go to you as far as the community service cleanup. I think that's a good idea. Maybe you can coordinate with the judge as he opens up court and see if there's anything that people can do as far as working out payment in the form of community service. So that would be an option as well.
Yes, I think we tried a couple of years ago to use probationers. Those would be for the bigger projects, maybe just trimming some trees, something like that, using the kids to clean up, picking up the old flowers, anything that might be a problem. But yes, Council, if that's okay, I wouldn't mind doing that whatsoever.
Mayor, if I also may add, your water that is used out at the cemetery, it is metered, so the city actually gets a bill for it. So there's actually billing on that usage out there.
It's paid every month, and
Yeah.
I monitor that, and I haven't seen any increase lately for a while. I do monitor last summer I did see an increase, but it was at a different part, so then I notified Johnny and let him know, is there a leak down there, what's going on, why is it so high? You know, it doubled, tripled, and we actually turned off water one month. So I do look at it on a monthly basis.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
We don't double check how far did she go?
We
I
don't-
think she's getting back on. She had been sending me a message. She was on her iPad and she was having issues. So I guess, and she says my screen. Okay. I'm gonna ask her if she's getting back on.
She is still having issues, Mayor, connecting.
Yeah, she sent me a blank screen. She says, give me a moment. I guess she's gonna go try another one.
There she is.
Sorry, I'm having computer issues.
There you go. Thank you.
Thank you for coming back. Okay, continuing with our discussion with our Parks and Cemetery, I think Mrs. Martinez, you had another question or comment?
Yeah, what I was gonna say, kind of what Marissa was saying, I think that we should wait on doing that, Cindy, and see what Johnny comes up with. And like Marissa said, make an amendment and, you know, see how much it's gonna cost, or we can even do it at this time or whatever. And also, Johnny, if you need to know the person that did that fence, I can get you a contact number if that's the route you wanna go through, or either do your own thing.
No, that'd be good, just, if you can just give us contact after.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions or comments pertaining to the, I guess cemetery revenues? How are we doing on sales of the new plots in the new section? Are they going pretty good, or?
We had, 20,000 as our budget for this year, but we're only right now at about 15, so a little lower than what we thought.
You never hope for the new
Yeah.
more
Exactly. So this next year, I am budgeting 15,000, just to be conservative.
Well, I did, it's kind of business, but I did hear the Catholic Cemetery is basically sold out until they can get their new section. So, in talking to them, they said they may have to refer some people over to our cemetery for now.
And that's what I think.
Yeah, okay. We don't solicit business for that. Okay, any other questions pertaining to the cemetery fund? Okay, if not, we'll move on to the street maintenance. Streets.
On streets, it's gonna be, Johnny Villarreal also as the department head, and then the interim street supervisor, Rudy Gonzalez.
Thank you, gentlemen, for being here.
All right, it'll be on page 6.
Hold on, I'm gonna interrupt you real quick. We're gonna actually start page 4 with, the street maintenance tax. I have budgeted 475,000 in revenue for fiscal year 2020. And then for expenditures for that, on page 5, the street maintenance cost though is 200,000. That is the day-to-day, cost for cold lids, oil, anything street related that the streets department needs. This is where it comes from. But again, it has to just pertain to streets. It cannot be any type of curbing or drainage or anything like that. I did not put anything for a street repair project. I didn't know if there was any discussions of you all wanting to repair any more streets. I did look at the fund balance, and there is a reserve in the street maintenance of $828,000. So that's up for discussions. I don't know if there were additional streets y'all are wanting to do this coming year, or if we wanted to pull out a year and build the reserve back to where it was, and then look to do another major street repair.
Weren't we gonna continue with some of the streets that we had talked about, Mr. Johnson?
Councilwoman, you had set up a priority list for streets that you wanted to have done. We worked on the first portion. It had been at a standstill, but we were able to kick that off and finish some roads that needed to be done. The contractor did excellent work. We wanted to see, get some information from you as council. We wanted to continue, review that and prioritize, and then list the streets that we would accomplish this year, or we were gonna hold off another year. So that's a question for the council. One of the things that I want to be made public is that the contract work we can get done with no problem if we go through the process of that you chose like you did last year. But my street department is overwhelmed with brush pickup, and that is the biggest thing. We get calls about, well, you know, we got potholes, but we got tons of brush, so they have to pick up the brush. So that's an issue that I'll be bringing to the council meeting with the help of the city attorney to draft a new ordinance that we can look at to say this is what we've got to do. What I've done at this point for budgetary reasons is we have notified the citizens that are biggest users of that constantly to say, we're gonna pick this up, we need to refrain until we get something in place from the council. And then in addition, we're gonna send another letter citywide to say, let us pick everything up, clean up before Peanut Festival, and hold off till we get a new ordinance to say, you know, we're gonna pick up X amount of times a year, or you're gonna have costs associated with that, so that we can let them know. But if we want the streets to get, the street department to get back to doing streets, then we're gonna have to curb the use of the brush pickup. We have come up with some ideas that even the staff has said, we can open the brush pile lot, like we do the dump site at a certain weekend, and you can bring your stuff and drop it off. You know, that we can handle. It's just a matter of picking up the items, the brush that has become a big issue. So, having said that, we can discuss some more after Rudy talks about what he's budgeted for his department, and then we can visit as council manager and see what you want to do on the street properties.
We got on page 6, we did increase on supplies and materials for janitorial building supplies such as rags, so that way we can clean up the material that gets on it, such as tar, and we buy chemicals to get rid of it, get it off the equipment so it lasts longer. Tools and supplies. We increased on the tools and supplies because we do need more shovels. They do wear out very fast. Our picks, our rakes, with the tar and the asphalt, they get wear and tear. Travel and safety. The street safety equipment, our vests get dirty. We need to buy more gloves so we keep the chemicals and tar off of our hands. Travel and training, such as myself, we get CDL training, more training for the street safety, such as
Flagging, traffic control.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Flagging, traffic control, equipment training, and the travel training, that's what's for. And as far as I know, TechStop does hold seminars once or twice a month. The more people we send, the cheaper it'll cost us, and that'll cover everything. employees that we've received. And, got an increase in our capital inlet. For, we budget for a new sweeper. More revenue for the hiking bike, because, my understanding, we're trying to make it look neater and prettier. Instead of having the asphalt there, we're gonna be putting concrete, sidewalk piece for the new projects that are coming up. Drainage and curbs as well. Because we got some of the new streets that we have put up, the drainage is starting to rot away the side of it. So if we put the new drainage and curbs up, it'll prevent any further damage on it, and everything will look nice and neat. And we budgeted for cameras. Since a few months ago, that you don't know, they did break into one of our facilities and steal all the batteries out of our equipment. So with the cameras in place, we'll be able to monitor better.
And Mayor, if I may, Mayor and Council, I appreciate Rudy doing this presentation. This is his first presentation in the public. He did not say, I don't want to do it. He said, I'll do it. He will continue to provide that for us because he knows the ins and outs of that department. So we appreciate that. On the capital outlay that he was talking about, we've been down a sweeper since I've been here. We talked to our service manager. The repair costs are gonna outweigh what the machinery itself is worth and what it can do. So we had a demonstration of a small sweeper that could sweep the entire city. Awesome machinery. I drove it myself. We tried it. It's something that we request from the council to help us approve that so that we can clean up our city. As you know, we've done these streets, but we haven't been able to keep the streets as clean as possible, our downtown area. So this is something that Cindy worked on as far as on the same lines as the back truck, correct?
Correct.
Same kind of payment, yearly payment for an X amount of time, same warranty, same ability, if that one's down, to get something for the guys to keep working. So drainage is a big issue here in our city. The lack of, or the infrastructure that's there is old, so that's what Rudy's talking about on drainage, so that we can continue to push that water towards the river, away from our city, in a manner that will protect our citizens' home and property. So that's where we're at in regards to that. So besides that, if there's any questions on that, Johnny, Rudy, and myself can answer. Our finance director's here. And then the big topic will be what you want as far as street maintenance or reconstruction, new streets.
I know there was a particular street that was of concern, and I agree with Councilwoman Martinez on that, so.
When we talked about streets, F Street was one of the ones that we talked about. And then for some reason, and I haven't really done research on it, it was not done. And that street really needs a lot of help.
And that's one of the things that we get real busy in regards to that. You asked me, and I looked through agenda items and minutes, and that road, and one of the discussions that you had as far as what was going to be done, that portion was taken out. It was in a meeting where that portion had been said, we'll leave that till later. And here we are later, so it's something that we have to continue. We'll be more than glad to work with the contractor to be able to do the type of work that we did, because we do have, what did you say, Matt? As far as funds in our reserve?
$828,000.
$828,000 is what's in the bank on the reserves, plus what we'll collect, and you're estimating we'll collect how much this year?
475.
So that's 475,000 in addition. So it's really, you know, we can scale back, because our project that we did this year was about
24,000
for the streets that we were able to do. And it's just a matter of us staying on top of what we need to do. Like I said, they kind of put on hold because of the pandemic, because of changes in administration and staff members, but you let us know and we'll get it done.
So I would
Mayor, I
like,
have a comment.
Go ahead. Okay. Yes, Ms. Jimenez.
think I'm on the same page with Councilwoman Martinez. I think we need to go back to that priority list and revisit the streets that we had said we were going to wait until the following year. Because I do recall having to dwindle down our list. And then we did mark some that we said that we would wait until the next fiscal year to look at them. And I think F was one of those streets as well. So I think we should continue with our street maintenance project. I don't think we need to wait. I don't feel we should deplete our entire account, but look to see what we can do with what we have. And that's my opinion on that. But I don't know who would have that list. I know it was in streets. The supervisor had that list when we were going through it, because we did have a workshop before we decided on what streets we were going to work on for this current year.
Yes, ma'am. Mr. Keith Mayberry has showed me that list, and we can get a copy of that. I know Johnny will be able to obtain that, and then we can bring it to the council for your review. Check off what's been done, and then what you want to get done this year. And we can look at contracting that out so that we can get it done.
Thank you.
Right.
Mr. Martinez, joining us is Councilman Villarreal. Thank you, Councilman, for joining us. Mr. Martinez, I think you had a question or comment?
That was just one of my things, because I just felt real strong about S Street, and maybe I didn't pay attention or whatever, but I just thought that was one of the streets that was gonna be fixed, and I kept waiting and waiting, okay, when are they gonna start on that, and it hadn't happened, so that's why I was like, okay, did we take it off, or did I not pay attention at that meeting, or whatever, but anyway.
It was taken off then, but F Street, you're talking about the other side of Fourth, because it was done all the way up to Sweets, that's it, correct?
Right, and I thought we were gonna go all
On
the
the
way
other side, okay,
to, Highway 97.
okay.
So I'd appreciate if we maybe get a bid on that, or whatever we need to do, Andy.
We'll do that, and then we'll bring you the priority list to ensure that everybody's in agreement on what they want us to do, and we can move forward. Once we get that priority list, we can get some quotes on what they will do. I would say, since we have a contractor already work, that we can proceed with that, since they know the
And I
city.
think he did an outstanding job.
Okay.
Did you oversee all that, Johnny? I'm sure you
Well,
did.
yeah, we'll work pretty close with them, and I think every citizen that lived on those properties were very happy with
Oh,
the
yeah.
amount of work that they did. And if there was a question, comment, or concern, that contractor did get back with them in a timely manner. So they worked very well with us. They kind of planned whether it was a manhole, a valve, a box, whatever needed to be lifted or raised. They were kind of right with us. We were able to fluidly go through with what they needed to get done. So I think everything, for as many streets as we've done, it couldn't have gone any smoother.
Thank you, Johnny.
I have one other comment, and then we'll move forward. The side street that has the dip by the nursing home, are we planning to repair that? I know it's got utilities, they've been working on the utilities, but that has been a big issue because the ambulances have to go through there, and they had actually contacted me to see if we were in the planning stages of repairing that. I know we did the front of the nursing home, but not on the side.
Where that swell is at, as you're speaking on, I want to say it's 7th Street. if I'm not mistaken.
Yes.
So I do know at one point, I had spoken with several individuals that lived around that area. They did say at one point that was actually the firefighters and EMS's preferred route to get, whether it was to the nursing home or within that neighborhood. At its fastest point, that was its fastest route. So due to that the dip being in the condition it was, they actually stopped using it and went back around to F Street through 3rd Street, which actually probably adds on a whole lot more time, especially if it's a dire situation with the nursing home. So if we were going to revamp the streets, that'd be a great street to tie into on F Street, but we would have to look at the drainage that's coming off of 7th Street and F, and then the dip as well. That would have to be completely redone. That dip has probably dropped down a few feet in the last 10 years. Just water damage, and it just keeps on sinking and sinking. I don't think with the EMS trucks and the fire trucks, it's allowing them to make a smooth transition or a safe transition with somebody in the back. So that'd be a street that y'all would like to put on, it'd be definitely something that y'all could decide on. And, if y'all decide on it, we could definitely make that street happen. It would be I got that complaint earlier this week, when I met with a customer, and they were like, can y'all please fix this, you know, and I said, well, it's up to the council, so if y'all decide that, it'd be a great street to put priority on.
Right, to our priority.
Yes, ma'am.
Councilman, or council, do y'all have any other questions for our gentleman?
I did have a question for Mr. Yadiel.
Yes.
The name of the contractor that worked on our street,
It is Truian. It was Truian,
The one
that I got us, something, but then it turned out to be, at the end, they changed names. Truian,
oh, they changed names.
yes.
Okay, yeah, that's what I couldn't, I thought it was De La Garza, but then I had heard that other name, so I really wasn't sure. Okay, no, yes, they did a fantastic job.
Okay.
I just want to add that, considering this is your first time, Rudy, that you've done this, you did a great job.
Yes. Yes, thank you. Any other comments pertaining to the streets? Okay, if not, thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate you guys being here.
Thank you.
And moving on to our service department, we have Mr. Eli.
This is just had a birthday, and he turned 24, he said.
Sure did. Again. Good evening.
Thank you for being with us this evening.
Thank you. Okay, on page 7, on the supplies and materials, we bumped it up to 4,000 because we've been using a lot of oil and stuff for the lawnmowers. This year has been a pretty bad year for our lawn equipment, and then blades, belts have been busting because the grass is so high, but it seems like it's slowing down a little bit. But we just want to keep them going, you know, as much as we can. Then on the fuel and tires, of course, the police department goes through a lot of tires, and we've had to replace some of our vehicles also. And the trailers, you know, we have purchased more trailers, so they're going through tires too. And then of course the fuel, you know how everything has gone up. So
Do we use our service money for the police department, or does that come out of the police department's funds?
It's all one. Everything's put into the service department.
We do, well, this past year we did start, we do allocate $5,000 to the police department, just because we're seeing that his budget gets used up very quickly. It's pretty much already all used up, and we have 2 months left. And then we would run into where PD didn't have any money for tires or for what they were needing for their patrol cars, so we do have a minimal budget of $5,000 for PD, but most of their stuff does come out of his as well. Anything major.
as you all know, they're not really supposed to repair the tires on, but we are. You know, but you know, they're pretty good about bringing them to me when they do need tires. I have no issues with them, you know, as far as them maintaining their vehicles.
What I'm trying to say is there money, extra money that could be allocated, because it does look like, as I mentioned before, it's gonna be hard to get lawnmowers, you're gonna be servicing more, you're gonna be servicing more of the equipment just to keep up. Is there a way of increasing this amount of expenditures for the service department, because it's gonna be vital? And as you said, we have 2 more months and it's already hit the budget mark.
Andy and I will be discussing if we do decide to just repair the bucket truck, rather than purchase. We are looking to move from the capital outlay of, parks to his, but there will be additional money because it will be cheaper to, repair the bucket truck. And in that case, we are looking to put additional money into his, major equipment repair, just in case there is additional items that we do need to repair that, I know they're using, especially the mowers and stuff a lot now.
Is the service department 2 members, 2 employees, or is it 3?
Just me.
It's just you. Cool.
We had, when I got here, he does have a gentleman that knows mechanics. If he needs help, he is pulled to help him. If he is out for whatever time and we do need somebody to do an oil change or like you said, tires or what, we pull that gentleman from there. But he is out in the field. We made some changes for as far as operations, and he's gone back to where he's needed the most at this time. I mean, Eli doesn't need help at times, and we just make that transition when he does.
Council, I'll open the floor for any comments or questions for Eli.
I have a question. What is considered major repairs? Because that's usually what you contract out, correct?
Yes, ma'am, it's like like I was explaining to Cindy earlier today. These vehicles nowadays, they have, the computers are so complicated. If you don't have the right equipment to work with them, we have to contract them out. And we can't buy a computer to diagnose them because they're so expensive. And you have to get schooling, and every 5 years you have to update that certain computer to be able to diagnose the vehicles, and then you gotta go to more schooling and get more familiarized with the newer vehicles. But that's major repair, yes, it's something that has to be subbed out.
Okay. Any other questions for our service department?
On the, on those lawnmowers, you were right. I checked today, and Kubota does not have nothing. There's a waiting list of 30 people waiting for lawnmowers just for a 48-inch. So you can imagine what everybody, they said maybe by December, if you're lucky.
Right. And from what I understand, because I know somebody very close to me that works with them, even the parts to repair them is getting fewer and fewer.
Yes, and if there's some dealers that do have the parts out there, they will not sell them to another dealership. They will not. So.
Well, I know John Deere here said that they have very few, if any, and that people have been calling from all over the state to see if they have any lawnmowers. So I think it's kind of the census of just about anything out there that we might need.
It's getting scarce everywhere, even AutoZone, believe it or not. I had to wait 2 weeks on a cooling fan for a police car.
Right. So repairs might not come as quickly as we would like them to.
Not right now, but you know, like those lawnmowers, yeah, you get on this, yeah, that's what they need to consider.
Yes. Mr. Johnson or Cindy, would y'all have anything else to add to our service department?
Not to the serviceman, but to overall, if I can get just some clarification, so that we can get back to work, the finance director and I, in regards to what the council would like to see from these departments.
Okay. Any other questions for Eli before I turn it over to Mr. Johnson?
I just want to say thank you, Eli, for all you do.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you for being with us. Mr. Johnson?
Yes, Mayor and Council, Fund 331, the cemetery fund. It's my understanding the capital outlay budget right now of $15,000 is what you'd like to see maintained. We talked about the roads. A priority was heavy, the curbing and possibly the fence. And we talked about, some contract work out there, we need to, but we're gonna try to work with some volunteers in addition. In Fund 301, the street department, we need to go back and grab the priority list for you that you had already set in place as far as the roads. But it's my understanding that F Street, all the way to 97 is one of the ones that was brought up, and then 7th Street, the concrete drainage area. So if that's correct, then we will get back to work and bring that to you, bring some more information throughout the remaining budget.
Mr. Jocelyn,
Yes, ma'am.
I have a question about that priority list. Does council need to review it first before we indicate which streets you would like y'all to work on?
Most definitely, ma'am, yes. I will bring you that list, and we can discuss at that point in time.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments by staff or by council members? Well, thank you very much. It's a lot of information and valuable information. So if there are no further comments, this budget meeting is now concluded at 6:32. Have a very safe evening, and